Steve, along with gold, silver has done very well over the past 2 years when it comes to investing. So what are the qualities of silver that make it such a good investment?
You're really talking about those precious metals qualities. Silver is a little bit unique from gold in that it is also an industrial metal. But when you look at the precious metals component, it can really add some protection to a portfolio. That comes through diversification from major asset classes. And typically what we see in both gold and silver is when you have periods of market volatility, geopolitical uncertainty, falling interest rates, anything that's really adding volatility to the market, we tend to see precious metals perform pretty well.
And what about when it comes to AI? Because they're applying AI to everything nowadays. People are talking about it when it comes to gold and silver, I suspect, as well.
It is, and AI and also the transition to cleaner energy is really driving demand for silver as of late. If you were to go back over the last decade, we've actually seen solar panels of their use has increased about 28% annually for that over that decade. That is really as we move to cleaner forms of energy, and now we have this secondary aspect of it as AI starts to come online and become much more prevalent. The energy demands for the grid are rising. A lot of times we see these tech companies that are building these data centers have clean energy initiatives, and they are relying on forms of energy like silver or like solar panels, which is very silver intense.
Can you talk about the supply-demand dynamic for silver? Has supply been able to keep up with demand?
So if we go back over the last 10 years or so, we've seen that its supply has pretty much been stagnated. It's actually decreased about 3% since 2015. And if we look at the last 6 years in general, the silver market's actually been in deficit. One of the main reasons for that is because 72% of silver is actually mined as a byproduct, meaning miners are actually looking to get zinc or copper or lead out of the ground. So a lot of times what you see is increases in price of silver aren't necessarily driving miners to produce more of the metal.
Okay, and you guys have the Sprott Silver Miners and Physical Silver ETF. This is the SLVR. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how it gives people access to silver?
Yeah, we're really excited about it. It's really the first in its space. It's a pure play strategy, meaning that it's investing in companies that have at least 50% of their revenue or assets tied to mining or exploration of silver. It also has a physical silver component to it. That makes up about 17.5% of the portfolio. We do have a small buffer in there to add some liquidity to the portfolio. So if a company only has 25% of their revenue or assets, they're limited to 15% of the portfolio. But that provides some liquidity. The pure play aspect is really what sets it apart from other competing ETF strategies.
Why does a pure play strategy when it comes to silver miners?
It really matters because when you start thinking about the byproduct nature, so if a miner is primarily mining for copper and they're getting silver as kind of a byproduct of that operation, their economics aren't really tied to mining silver. It's more of a copper miner. So what we see when you look at other competing ETF strategies that are involved in the mining space is you tend to see a product that doesn't have that same level of exposure. If you were to look at the mining landscape as it relates to silver ETFs and their strategies, SLVR provides about 2 times the exposure to silver that you would see from other similar products on the market. And what that does is it really kind of gives investors an experience and unintended exposures that they might not be anticipating. So significant exposures to copper or zinc. And just another key point there is if you look at the 10 largest silver producers in the world, 0 of them were actually principally silver miners. So that's where a strategy like SLVR can provide that pure play exposure to give more silver exposure.
And then finally, what about geopolitically? We're seeing trade wars happen. We're seeing a big demand for rare earth metals and tariffs on those rare earths. How is silver affected by that?
It really depends on the source. What we're seeing is some dislocation in pricing depending where you're at in the world. A few weeks ago, there were stories of silver and gold being sent from the UK to the United States, trying to get ahead of some tariffs. If the tariffs in Canada, we're actually seeing tariffs being placed on silver and gold, which is coming to the United States. So really setting up some dislocation within the market, different pricing happening, some arbitrage opportunities for those within the industry to really maximize where the silver is going and how much they can get for that metal.
All right, well, thanks, Todd, for coming on and talking about it.
Great to be here, thanks.